When you think about speed, I think about fast single strokes. The way you'd approach that, again, is it goes against what you'd actually think you need to do. I would say I'm currently quite unfit as a drummer, but I can still do because it's... Hello everybody and welcome to Missing a Beat, the podcast where we talk about drumming related topics for all your drumming related needs. Today we're here in the Zoom room in the Sound Service headquarters here in Berlin, and I'm here with my co-host, the one and only Chris Keeling. And today, Chris, we are talking about what?
Speed.
Care to emphasize
out of context, that? Yeah. Being able to gain speed on drums, right? So we're talking about the
age-old question:
How do I
play faster?
There we go. Mm-hmm. How do I play faster? Yeah. This comes back to the same stuff that we've talked about in other podcasts, but effectively having good practice is what's going to get you there with speed. And the first point of this is slowing things down, making sure the technique is good, and that's like the first thing, right?
Yeah.
Caveat: when it comes to speed, there is a tipping point, whether this is kick drum speed, hand speed, where the momentum of being over a certain tempo, okay, so let's say playing like 16th notes, like ba-boom, ba-boom, over somewhere between 80 to 100 probably, depending on you as a person, where that technique might shift because you're using the momentum of the pedal, right, or the momentum of the stick and the bounce and the things. Yep. So you can't practice that slow. It doesn't matter how many times, because they're two individual hits, but all of a sudden doubles become one motion at a certain speed, right? Because you're using the flow. So that's where you then have to practice that.
But then you'd make that shorter. So you'd make the thing you are practicing shorter. You wouldn't put it in, let's say we're taking the two bass drum kind of thing. You can practice that in a groove context, but you'd probably just go like a couple beats long. That's it.
Yeah. You can isolate it and just focus and go, that one was good. The example that I've thought about a lot is I'm terrible at bowling. All right.
Of all things.
Yeah. But like when you go to throw a ball, when you think about bowling, there's no variables. So if it's football, you've got different points where you're kicking a ball from, the pitch has changed, there's weather conditions. Bowling's like the same. Generally speaking, with your drums, unless you're on different drums, you've got your pedal, your things, it's going to be a pretty same environment stuff, right? When you're practicing. Yeah. So once you've got it right once, that means you can get it right a million times. So you throw your ball in, boom, and you've got that spin. You just need to replicate that exact thing with that same ball and those conditions.
So basically muscle memory.
Muscle memory. So once you get it right, it's going, what did I just do right? And maybe you then do 3 more tries of boom and it's not working. If you're filming yourself, watch it back. I realized as I slid my foot back, then I come forward, this is what I'm doing, and that's what worked for me. And you can analyze it like that.
Yeah, and I think kind of emphasizing the same point again, I think when you think about speed, and when you said speed, what I think about is fast single strokes, right? And the way you'd approach that, again, is slowing it down, and that is contrary to what you'd think, because what you're trying to achieve does not need to slow down. We need to speed up. So it goes against what you'd actually think you need to do. And also relaxing. That's massive. So, and most people might think it's about having huge guns and being able to just really quickly, or just pure stamina, right? And stamina does come into it after a while. But I would say I'm currently quite unfit as a drummer, but I can still do
you've got the blast
like
you
that
can blast,
because it's technique and it's having done very slow work and worked with a metronome. I know, sorry to swear, but that is also involved.
yeah, exactly. Also, knowing the right exercises to practice is something that's big. So one that I like, I think it's very easy to understand if you're listening to this. This is not like beginner thing necessarily, but you're trying to push speeds. You're probably a little bit beyond that of being a complete beginner. Right, left, kick, or right, kick. Either of these, really good to build the speed on your kick drum. Yep. And the exercise that I like to do is start really slow, like da, da, dun, dun, and gradually speed that up. Right up until the point where you're going to trip over yourself. Bring it back down underneath that a little bit. Hold that for a bit. and then go back down, slow it down. Because if you can bring it up in speed and down in speed really smoothly, you have control. And also you keep hitting that point where I said that transition happens. You keep hitting that and you start to find where that is, and you can really understand. I guess an easy one for people to understand is singing. You've got like your falsetto, your high voice, and then your chest voice, your low. There's like a bridge in between that.
The break.
It's like the break. It's the same thing when you hit over that speed with drums. So this exercise effectively gets you to keep going through the break, the bridge, the thing that like where it kind of crumbles.
Yeah, and if you want a more systematic way to approach that instead of just being self-led, especially when you're doing something consistent like that between hands and feet, it's really easy for the timing to go just not great.
Pear-shaped.
Like note to note.
Yeah.
So I would put on a metronome, preferably count out loud with your 16th notes, right, left, kick, kick, 1, E, and and move it up in small increments, smaller than you think. Because what you'll do is you'll find a baseline tempo that's good, maybe, let's say, I don't know, 100 BPM, right? And you get up to that really easily and quickly. When you start to notice that, and what I say to my students is it feels like, you know, when you walk through water and you feel that resistance to the steps you're taking, you want that feeling to be there, but you don't want it to be hindering you from playing the right thing. And what will happen is if you stay there at that tempo, it'll ease off like a sore muscle, right? And literally it's like your muscle memory is developing in that moment. So once you're at kind of that point, that's when you're moving up individual BPMs. You don't want to go faster than that. I say like it's either 5, maybe 2, maybe 1, depending on how you're feeling.
And how fast you are. As well. Obviously, when you get to 200 BPM, 1 BPM starts to become a lot. But when you're at 50 or 51.
Yeah, and another tool you can use, probably better at slower BPMs as well, is changing the subdivision of your metronome. Because when you're trying to get really precise stuff, if you've got, I personally am a bit weird and I like being yelled at by the 1 E and a 2 E and a, and like, because that really just holds me perfectly in time. And it means you've got something coming down with literally every single hit you're doing. So if anything's out, you are gonna hear it harshly and cruelly. But that's a tool I use.
Should we just explain what that is? Because I feel like for a lot of people, so if a metronome generally is set at a quarter note, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can then subdivide the metronome to have more notes in between that to whatever it is that you're playing. So if we're going from quarters to 16th notes, we have 1 E and 2. You can have the metronome bip, bop, 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 bip, bop, 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 bip, and you've actually got every single one of those notes that you're playing. You've
got
to match.
Kick, kick, right, left, kick, kick.
Exactly. You match up with that. If you're confused about how to set a metronome up like that, because that can be confusing, then some metronomes don't do it as well. That's something to bear in mind. So you might have that. So go and find a metronome that does. We'll try and put a link in the description for a couple that I think are free still that do that. But they can get more complicated. So if you're first of all starting out, what I'd say is if you are, let's just say 50 beats per minute, but you want to have 16th notes, just quadruple the time on the metronome.
200 BPM.
Just do 200 BPM. Or if you need 8th notes, double it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a really quick workaround to that.
And if you're quite early on in the game and haven't done much work with the metronome, it can get quite full on, especially as you go on higher tempos. So start with quarter notes. See how you do. I'm talking from someone who's been playing for like this long, and sometimes I forget just how hard it is.
No, I think it helps people though.
If you're trying to teach yourself how to play the drums, then I can almost guarantee that you have this singular issue. You don't know what you should be practicing. And if you do, props to you, but for the rest of us mere mortals, it can be so easy to get discouraged from playing when we don't really have much of a direction and we don't know what we should be doing. And there is nothing worse than investing a whole bunch of time and energy into doing something that you're not even sure you're doing right. So, allow me to present a solution. Never too late. FastTrack Drummer is our new 28-day crash course where we will help you achieve your drumming goal, whatever it is. And if you don't achieve it within 28 days, we will keep teaching you until you do, for free. And when we say teach, we don't just mean pointing you in the direction of yet another self-led online course. We mean actual time with a real tutor online. And that's kind of it, to be honest. Obviously, there's a lot more around that, but if you want to find out more, then all you have to do is just follow the link down below or in the bio. We'll see you in there. Big love.
I was talking to one of your students the other day, and they were playing at 45 BPM and doing the accents exercise. I was getting them to do it at 45.
What was the subdivision on?
On quarters, and they were doing pretty well. And I said, put it to 8s at least.
Yeah.
And their metronome didn't do that. So we doubled it to 90, and all of a sudden they're really in time.
Obviously, I mean, that's actually highlighting another really good exercise. This is kind of diverging from the point. This is actually a timing internal metronome thing. But on the other end of working with a metronome is turning it right down. So an exercise I was given at uni was playing a quarter note groove.
At 30.
50. Start at 50, nothing else in between, and you have to hold the time. So it develops your internal metronome, and you go as low as you can go, basically, which is a brilliant exercise. It's so good.
Yeah.
Awful. Feels awful.
Hard to do, guys.
So bad, but really good for you.
Yeah. A starting point when you're working on speed, for the majority of the time, if you're doing this by yourself, I would say 60 is a pretty good starting point for most things.
Yeah.
We were going to 45 on this specific thing because we're doing accents and really need to work on coming up and having every note so.
And when you're talking about intricate technique where you've got accents going on requiring a different stroke compared to taps and stuff, you want the time to think about it. And I know we've just talked about metronomes for ages, but if you're trying to get the coordination mechanics, I like to call it, of what's going on down, get rid of the metronome.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that initially. That's kind of the next step. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, even with speed, the metronome is a tool, and you have to sometimes just, if you're not feeling smooth doing that, and you can't even get the time in, just break it down, and if it's something obviously. Hopefully singles and doubles are fairly okay, but if you're just starting paradiddles might be a bit wonky. Yeah. They're very easy to not have. Yeah,
and I'd say if you're not feeling relaxed while you do it, you're probably doing something a bit wrong. Yeah. There's a bit of a caveat to that, because obviously if you're sat there doing 16th note, your muscles will after a while go, ow, I don't want to do this. Yeah. Yeah, but it shouldn't feel like this massive effort, like you shouldn't be really into it. And especially when we're drumming, we don't want to be too big and flaily while we're doing these fast things. That's why 100%. When people are doing things like blast beats, which is a metal kind of groove, you've got single strokes going on basically really quickly between the right and left hand. That's why it's only this high. And they're doing this, and the motions get smaller and smaller. And that is something you'll notice, is as you get faster, everything gets smaller and smaller, which is why you want to get the technique while you're doing big strokes, and it will condense and condense and condense. The technique stays, it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller, which is another reason you want to start slow. Yeah. So
I mean, and just to go further on what Emma's saying there, like when you actually start to go faster, and you naturally just can't hit that hard, right? And
there's more space. It takes longer to physically get there. So when kids are like, this, I have to tell them smaller.
Try telling that to Dave Grohl.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's like as it gets smaller, and so when you're playing ghost notes at speed, right? It is the same technique as when you're playing. It's just the stick height doesn't go up as high. I think one of the things that people struggle with getting ghost notes faster, for example, is they're trying to hit the drum gently. You're not hitting it.
So actually, you said something different there. You said it's the same technique. It's actually not.
Okay.
It's not the same technique. This is actually something I've done.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. Go on.
So when you're hitting the drum, when you think about hitting a drum and creating a note, you think about lifting the stick up. Yeah. Whereas ghost notes are the complete opposite, and you have to stay low.
So actually,
and drop the stick.
It depends if you're grooving or feeling. Okay, so. For example, if you're just doing this, I would say you don't lift the stick up. Actually, if you're just doing this with a free stroke, it doesn't come up first. It starts in this position, it hits down, and it finishes in that position.
This is where we're having discrepancies in our own technique.
Yeah, and these are the things, right? But that's if you're doing exercise based stuff. Now, if I'm grooving to something, and I might choose to and do that, like the whip motion, for example.
I think what we're not talking about here is neutral position. So for me, everything starts from neutral position, which is where I like to describe it as you create a pizza slice on the snare drum about this far off.
Okay.
That's your starting point, and then you lift from there, boff.
Okay.
So that's therefore neutral zone. So you can go tap from there, boff, or you come up to come down.
Okay. So okay. So and again,
you're not sat here like this, right?
Depends what you're playing. If you're playing, actually, if you're saying we're just going da 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 da, da, this is going and it's staying down. But if you're going ba ba ba, actually, because it's always accents with the right hand, the neutral position is up here.
Yeah.
But you're not going down, coming back up, and then because you don't have the time for that. It's 1, 2. That's the resting position.
Interesting. Yeah.
So
what we've discovered here is no one has the answers.
No, there is no answers. Just give up now.
And also, this is getting way too deep.
Far too deep. Yeah, we've gone into a wormhole.
Oh, actually, you should have it into neutral position.
Yeah, whatever that means. Yeah. But I think when it comes to speed, let's wrap it up with this. It's obviously, as you can see, different people are going to have different opinions anyway.
But there are some general
But there's some general things. And I think the general thing, slow it down, speed it up, hit that like breaking point, work around those tempos, as Emma said, and kind of gradually build that up. And be patient.
Yep. Don't expect a miracle.
Yeah, just be really patient.
Actually, I'm going to go against what I just said there. You can expect a miracle sometimes if you get the technique right and something clicks.
Yeah.
Things like doubles, when you get those right, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Right.
But it isn't it's the illusion of a miracle.
More often than not, it's not. It's not.
It's an illusion, isn't it? Because you've done all the work to get the technique. Like you don't just immediately pick it up.
No, last night I saw a video of a literal baby.
Okay.
With sticks in their hand, instant natural doubles.
Yeah, but that comes back to that 7, being younger than 7 and picking. They've probably seen that from a parent.
This baby probably can't see this far in front of their own face. It's
How
that
old
young. Really, legit. It's unbelievable.
I think even at that age, you pick things up so insane. I think
they just had a feel for the natural feelers thing. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Emma's talking about babies. But there you go. If you have any more questions about gaining more speed on the drums, then leave them in the comments down below. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic day and big love. Mwah.